For 30 years she built the perfect marriage. But one diary found in the basement turned their life into a battlefield. What was written on those pages that destroyed everything? "Rachel!" Mark's voice roared from the basement, sharp enough to make me nearly spill my coffee. "Get down here! Now!" I set my mug in the sink, muttering under my breath. What the hell now? Did something break? Was there a leak? The wooden stairs groaned under my weight as I headed down, the single dangling light bulb burning like an interrogation lamp. Mark was in the far corner, standing over half-opened boxes and papers scattered like a crime scene. In his hand? A small, worn book with a faded pink cover. "That better not be my journal," Rachel said, a tight laugh slipping out, the kind of laugh you give when you're pretending you're not cornered. She didn't seem too rattled. She had journals going back decades. Probably figured he'd flip through, roll his eyes, and move on. But there was something in his stance, shoulders tense, jaw locked, that made my stomach knot. When he turned, it wasn't just anger in his face. It was something uglier. Disbelief. Disgust. "Yeah, Rachel," he said, voice low, shaking with controlled fury. "Your journal. The one where you apparently documented your little side projects." She scoffed, waving her hand like he was being dramatic. "Oh, come on. You know I wrote all kinds of nonsense back then. Half of it's made up." She stepped closer, palm out, like he just handed over. Instead, his grip tightened. "Not sure this qualifies as nonsense," he said, flipping a page with his thumb. "Because what I just read. God help me, you've wrecked me." Her smile faltered, but her voice stayed syrupy sweet. "Mark, you're overreacting. This was forever ago. Why does it even matter now?" "Stop talking," he barked, and the sound of it hit like a whip. He flipped to a page marked by a bent corner and began reading, his tone dripping with venom. "I wish Mark would hurry up and marry me already, but Jim is so much more exciting. God, the way he..." He stopped, jaw clenching, then turned the page. "And it's not just Jim," he went on. Rachel's chin lifted. "So what? You think you're some saint? You were gone all the damn time." He ignored her, his voice rising as he read. "I can't stop thinking about how Greg pushed me up against the wall last night, how his hands felt on me. Mark's out again, so maybe I'll have Greg come over this weekend too. Oh, and what a rush, first Eddie in the morning, then Matt at night. I never thought I'd be this kind of woman, but here I am. And really, why should I feel bad? Mark doesn't need to know. I'm sure once we're married, I'll settle down." Each new excerpt was like a fresh blade twisting deeper into my chest. Rachel pressed her hand to her mouth like she was shocked, but I caught the flicker in her eyes. That wasn't guilt. That was annoyance. She had forgotten, or maybe she just hoped I'd never find out, that these journals didn't stop with her fling with Jim. No, she'd documented an entire parade of affairs. Everything from stolen kisses to all-out, no apologies hookups with different men. And then there were the fantasies, the kind she never breathed a word of to me. "Mark," she said in this soft, fake cry voice. "That was 30 years ago. It's ancient history." I slammed the diary shut so hard the sound cracked through the basement. "Ancient history? You think reading my own wife brag about sleeping her way through half the zip code doesn't matter?" I waved the book at her, my hands shaking. She straightened up, jaw tight, fear mutating into defiance. "I'm not that person anymore. I was young and dumb. Were you?" I shot back. "Because you wrote in here about things you did while we were already engaged." "Oh, please," she scoffed, folding her arms. "You're acting like this is a brand new betrayal. It's prehistoric. I haven't seen those men in decades. And I had the right to know exactly who I was marrying," I barked. "Instead, I got duped into thinking you were just nervous about me leaving for college. Meanwhile, you were lining up the next guy the minute I walked out the door." "It was only a few times," she hissed. But the flicker in her eyes told me she knew. Hell, I knew. It was more than that. A lot more. I stepped closer. A few times? Try reading your own words. You were on a tear, meeting guy after guy like you were addicted to the thrill. And the details. I shook my head, feeling sick. Her face went cold. Look, it's done. You can't change it. I laughed, but it came out hollow. So your defense is that it's expired? Like there's a statute of limitations on betrayal? She shrugged, trying to look bored, but I could see the pulse hammering in her neck. People do stupid things in their 20s. You move on. I turned to another box, tearing through it. Old photos, memorabilia, and then I froze. And you kept these too? I muttered, starting to think you enjoy reliving every filthy detail. Her eyes darted to the box. She knew exactly what it was. I pulled out a Polaroid. My stomach nodded. Who? I asked, my voice low and deliberate. Are these men? The photo was like a punch to the gut. Rachel, half-dressed on a couch, grinning like she owned the room. One guy had his arm around her. Another flexed his bicep. Another made a crude gesture toward her backside. And her hair was the kind of rumpled that didn't happen by accident. And across the bottom, in thick black marker, the best night ever. Rachel's lips curled into a smirk. That? Just a party. You're overreacting. But the truth was all over her face. She remembered exactly what night that was. Why would you keep this? I asked, my voice shaking, somewhere between heartbreak and fury. She gave a little shrug. Forgot it was even there. I let the photo drop from my hand like it burned me. Get out, I said. Her eyes narrowed. Excuse me? I said get out. She stomped up the stairs, muttering under her breath. This is so damn stupid. All these years, and you're throwing it away over nothing. Why'd you have to go digging in the basement anyway? I followed a moment later, the diary and the photos in my hand. You're going to your parents, I told her flatly. You can't just kick me out. She snapped. You're not staying here until I figure out what to do with this, I said, lifting the diary. Do you have any idea how humiliating it is to realize that for 30 years, the marriage you thought you had might have been a lie? She rolled her eyes like I was being dramatic. If it was a lie, then why was our life so damn good? I stared at her. Was it good? Or did you just run out of men and settle for me? She exploded. You're twisting everything. I had a wild streak, big deal. People change. Pack your things, I said, my voice calm but final. Or I'll do it for you. She hesitated, reading my face. I wasn't bluffing. She spun on her heel and stormed to the bedroom. I stood in the hallway, pacing, my pulse still pounding. A few minutes later, I heard her stuffing clothes into a suitcase. Then the zipper. Then silence, except for the creak of the nightstand drawer. She was holding a family photo. Me, our daughter, our son, and her. She picked up the frame, running her fingers over the glass. It was that Christmas years ago, the one where we all wore matching sweaters and laughed until our cheeks hurt. She closed her eyes and muttered to herself, he'll cool off. He always does. Out front, I was standing at the door like a statue carved from stone. She came down the walkway, suitcase bumping along behind her, head tilted high like she was walking a runway. Before getting in the car, she shot me a glare that could peel paint. This is ridiculous, she spat. You'll regret it. I didn't take the bait. Just swallowed hard and said nothing. She drove away, but not before checking the rearview. I stayed right there, diary in hand, watching her leave. She hated me in that moment, I could see it on her face. And maybe, for a split second, she hated herself too. In a small town, gossip travels faster than any car. By the time she pulled into her parents' driveway, her phone was lighting up with texts. He's at the bar telling everyone what he found, one read. Are you okay? She cursed under her breath. To her, this wasn't about what she'd done, it was about me, humiliating her. She stuffed her phone in her bag. That fight could wait. Her parents, well into their 80s, had always adored me like one of their own. They stared at her, pale and confused, as she explained, teeth clenched, that I'd found old diaries, and was overreacting to a couple of pre-marriage affairs. But if it was before you were married, why would he be so angry? Her mother asked. It's complicated, Rachel muttered, carefully dodging the part about the multiple men during our engagement, and definitely leaving out the Polaroid with 5 of them in one shot. Meanwhile, I was on a video call with our kids, telling them everything. No edits. No softening. By nightfall, my daughter was calling her nonstop. How could you do that to Dad? She demanded, her voice shaking. Cheating on him with who knows how many men, that's disgusting. Watch your tone, Rachel snapped. I'm still your mother. Oh, so now you want to play the mom card? Not after what you did. She's lying, Rachel tried to say, but my daughter cut her off. Dad sent us scans of the diary. You wrote about being with 5 men in the same week while you were engaged to him. Rachel's grip tightened on the phone. That's out of context. And decades ago. You lied to him. You lied to us, my daughter said, her voice breaking. God, Mom, I used to look up to you. But right now, I'm disgusted. The call went dead. Days later, she tried to smooth things over, especially with our daughter, who barely looked at her, much less spoke to her. But then came the real gut punch. One afternoon, her phone rang. It was our daughter, voice flat. Mom. I ordered a DNA test. Rachel froze. She knew exactly why those words made her stomach drop. She remembered the timeline in those diaries, how dangerously close her hookups had been to when she supposedly conceived our daughter. What are you talking about? She asked, her voice tight. Just a simple DNA test. I've wanted to do it for genealogy. But you know what else it shows, right? Honey, those at-home tests aren't even accurate, Rachel said quickly. They're accurate enough, my daughter said. Dad's taking it too. We'll see if it matches. Rachel closed her eyes. All right, she whispered. But her mind was already racing. You go ahead and do that, I told her. But those next few days felt like they dragged on for years. Every morning I woke up with that knot in my gut, waiting for a phone call that could either end my doubts, or rip the last bit of my trust to shreds. The results came in one afternoon, while she was still at her parents' place. Her phone buzzed. Our daughter's name lit up the screen. Mom! Her voice was trembling. It says, I'm not Dad's daughter. Jan's knees nearly buckled. For a moment she couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. Oh my God, it's true! Her daughter whispered, voice breaking. How could you, Mom? My entire life, a lie. Did you know? Jan choked back a sob. I suspected, but I wasn't sure. I thought maybe I was overthinking. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Her daughter was crying openly now. Dad's packing. He says he can't stay in this town. He's moving, maybe to Florida near his parents. You have to fix this. Her daughter pleaded. How am I supposed to fix this? Jan cried, clutching the phone. Your father is still your father in every way that matters. He loves you. But he's not my biological dad. That changes everything. And then, the line went dead. A few hours later, Jan marched back to the house. She was humiliated, furious, and just desperate enough to think she could still win. When she walked in, I was in the living room. My eyes burned, maybe from anger, maybe from tears. You've got some nerve, I said quietly. Showing up here. I need my things, she said, tossing her hair like she owned the place. I let out a bitter laugh. Then take them. In fact, take everything, because I'm moving. Officially. She froze. What about us? There is no us, January. You lied. You cheated before we were even married. You carried on like. I cut myself off, disgusted. And now we find out our daughter isn't even mine? She tried the old soft voice. I was young. I didn't know for sure. I loved you, that's why I married you instead of running off with those other guys. You raised her. That should count for something. My voice shook with rage. Counts for something? I read her bedtime stories. I taught her to ride a bike. I paid her tuition. And you couldn't be bothered to tell me there was even a chance she wasn't mine? I was protecting you, and her, she said, stepping toward me. She still sees you as her dad. I shook my head. Protecting me? You played God with my life. You decided I didn't deserve the truth. She reached out, but I pulled back. Don't even try. The only reason you're here is to fish for pity or save your image. Her eyes narrowed. Oh, I'm arrogant. You've told half the town, dragging my name through the dirt. Good. I snapped. You earned every bit of it. For the lies. For turning our life into a punchline. She clenched her fists, lips curling into a sneer. Well, guess what, Jerry? I snapped. You're no saint either, running your mouth all over town. You think you're some kind of moral giant? Please. I could see the rage in his eyes, like he was about to explode, but instead, he inhaled sharply and exhaled slow. Leave. Now. I hesitated, testing him. His finger pointed to the door. Leave, or I'll call the cops and have you removed for trespassing. My mouth twitched. He wasn't bluffing. Still, I wanted to stay and tear into him. But instead I spun on my heel and slammed the door hard enough to rattle the frame. The second I got in the car, the tears came hot and fast. Why am I even crying? I muttered. I did this. He's right. Every bit of it. In a town of 3,600 people, my scandal spread like wildfire. At the diner, in the grocery store, at the coffee shop, whispers followed me everywhere. Some people gave me pity, others looked like they'd happily spit in my face. Did you hear about Jan? Turns out her daughter isn't Jerry's. I heard she was with 5 guys at once back in the day. There's a photo. Scandalous. My friend's friend saw it. One day in the cereal aisle, I heard 2 women say Jerry was definitely moving to Florida, and that I was finally getting what I deserved. I walked away from my half-full cart and left the store. In the parking lot, my phone rang, Mom, frantic. Jan, get home. Jerry's on the phone. He wants to talk to you. My pulse kicked up. Maybe he'd cooled off. I rushed home. Mom hovered over the speakerphone, hands ringing. Jerry's voice came through, drained and heavy. I need a favor, he said. A bitter laugh escaped me. A favor? Yes. I've had enough. I'm leaving for Florida next week. I need you to sign some papers so we can move forward with a separation. My stomach twisted. A separation? Jerry, don't do this. Sign them. He cut in. Or I'll file for divorce with no negotiation, and you'll get nothing. My parents looked horrified. I pressed my palms to my temples. So that's the game? You leave me with nothing after 30 years? He laughed, short and sharp. No, January. You left me with nothing when you decided cheating was just fine and lying was even better. Sign the papers, or I go the hard way. Tears burned, but I bit them back. Fine. Send them. Weeks crawled by with almost no contact. Then I heard from someone I trusted. Jerry had been seen out with Susie, Jim the electrician's ex-wife. The news made my blood boil. Oh, so now he's doing exactly what I did. The only difference is he's parading her around to make me miserable. The truth? He had every right. But the thought of him with Susie, bonding over how Jan and Jim wrecked them both, it was like twisting a knife already buried deep. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Just 2 words. You reap what you sow, Susie. My grip tightened on the phone until my knuckles ached. Oh, you want war? I whispered. You just got it. I have no reason to stay in this house, this town, this state, Jerry said, voice flat, final. The words hit like a sledgehammer. Jan's hands trembled. After everything, After 30 years, you're just walking away? His eyes didn't waver. I'm not walking away, January. You pushed me out. You lied. You built our life on quicksand, and now it's collapsing. That's not on me. She stepped closer, desperate. I was young. Stupid. I didn't know what I was doing back then. You were engaged to me. His voice cracked like a whip. You knew exactly what you were doing. You just didn't care. Her tears came fast now, but Jerry's expression stayed cold. You think you can cry your way back into my good graces? No, January. I've read every word in those diaries. I've seen that photo. I know exactly who you were, and now I can't forget it. You loved me. She whispered. I loved who I thought you were. He said. That person never existed. The room felt too small, the walls closing in. Jan's mind scrambled for something, anything, to change his mind. We can fix this. Counseling, therapy. Jerry shook his head. I don't want to fix it. I want to be free of it. She stared at him, her breathing ragged. So that's it? You're just going to throw away everything? Our life? Our kids? Me? You already threw it away, he said quietly. I'm just taking out the trash. Her mouth fell open, but before she could speak, he turned and walked toward the door. The sound of the moving truck ramp clanging shut was the last thing she heard before the silence swallowed her. Jan stood there, frozen, her tears dripping onto the bare floorboards. And for the first time since this nightmare began, she wondered if Jerry might be right. I'm done. Jan clasped her hands like she was holding on for dear life. Please, Jerry, let's at least try therapy. Maybe we can. No. His voice was cold, unshakable. I'm not living the rest of my life wondering if you'll do it again. I can't look at you without seeing them. Her shoulders sank under the weight of his words. So you'd rather run off with Susie, or whoever you've been seeing? A bitter smile flickered across his face. At least Susie doesn't have a basement full of secrets. That's not the point, Jerry. You still don't get it. He snapped. This isn't about me. It's about you. Your betrayal. Your arrogance. And the lies that held our marriage together like rotten glue. If you can't see the difference, there's nothing left to say. They stood there in charged silence, the air between them ready to spark. Then his friend's head appeared in the doorway. Truck's packed, man. We should roll. Jerry nodded, grabbed his coat, and walked past her without another word. Aftermath. Days became weeks. Jerry left for Florida. Their daughter took a job in Orlando. Their son stayed in Atlanta. Jan remained in her childhood bedroom, living with her parents, alone with her thoughts and the ruin she'd made. She ignored calls from friends fishing for gossip. The truth was inescapable, she caused this. Once, she almost drove to Florida just to beg Jerry again. But the thought of him turning her away at the door stopped her cold. Her kids barely spoke to her, only curt texts about paperwork from her daughter, and silence from her son. Nights were the worst. Lying in the dark, she'd replay it all, the diary entries, the group photo with 5 men, the smug way she once wrote about hooking up while Jerry was away. Back then, it was easy to dismiss as the past. But the past had been waiting for its moment, and when it came, it blew everything apart. Final reflection. One night, just before sleep pulled her under, she thought she heard his voice again. You built our marriage on lies. Maybe he was right. Yet in her dreams, they were still laughing at barbecues, still driving their daughter to soccer, still holding hands in the car. She'd wake up with tears on her pillow, only to remember that Jerry was gone for good. And every time, it felt like losing him all over again. Thanks for listening till the end. Subscribe to the channel, even more shocking stories are coming your way.